Before she realized it, she was miles away from her sleeping nymph friends. She meandered into a secluded valley filled with hyacinths. She was reaching down to pick up a beautiful red one when the ground rumbled. A chasm opened at her feet, and four black horses pulling a massive chariot thundered into the sunlight. The driver was dressed in dark flowing robes. He wore iron gloves with a huge sword at his side and a whip in his hand. His face was covered with an elaborate bronze helmet engraved with the images of death and torture. In retrospect, Hades wondered if it was such a good idea to wear his helmet of terror on the first date, but by then it was too late. Persephone screamed and fell backwards into the grass. She should have run, but she was in shock. She couldn't even fathom what was happening. Everything had always revolved around her, gone her way. She couldn't be in danger. But she was pretty sure she hadn't wished for a demonic-looking guy in a black chariot to come and trample her flowers. Truth be told, she'd occasionally had daydreams about how some handsome young man would sweep her off her feet. She and the nymphs had spent a lot of time giggling about that one. But this was not what she'd envisioned. Hades took off his helm. His complexion was even paler than usual. He had a bad case of helmet hair. He was sweating and nervous and blinking like he had something in his eyes. "I'm Hades," he said in a squeaky voice. "I love you." Persephone screamed again, much louder. Not knowing what else to do, Hades grabbed her arm, pulled her onto the chariot, and spurred his horses. His dark ride disappeared into the earth. The chasm closed up behind them. The only person who actually saw the kidnapping was the Titan Helios, way up in his chick magnet sun chariot, because he had a great view and could see pretty much everything. But do you think he got on the phone to Olympus to report a kidnapping? Nope. First, they didn't have phones. Second, Helios didn't like to get involved with godly dramas. He was a Titan, after all. He figured he was lucky just to have a job and not get thrown into Tartarus. Also, this kidnapping wasn't the craziest thing he'd seen while crossing the sky every day. Those gods are always doing wild things. Man, the stories he could tell. Someday he should write a book. So Helios continued on his way. As for the nymphs who were supposed to be watching Persephone, they slept right through the abduction. The only person who heard Persephone screaming was the most unlikely person you could imagine. In a cave on a nearby mountainside, a titan named Hecate was minding her own business. Hecate was into magic and spooky nighttime crossroads and ghosts. She was the sort of first super fan of Halloween. Normally, she only left her cave after dark. So that day, she was sitting inside reading spellbooks or whatever when she heard a girl screaming. Hecate may have been a dark goddess of magic, but she wasn't evil. She immediately ran to help. By the time she got to the meadow, the action was over. Hecate's magic was weak in the daytime. She could tell that the earth had opened and that somebody had been snatched up in a chariot and dragged underground, but Hecate had no idea who the kidnapper was and who was the kidnappee. Hecate wasn't sure what to do. It wasn't like she could call 911. Since she didn't know the facts, she decided to go back to her cave and wait until nightfall, when she could cast better spells, and hopefully get more information. Meanwhile, the nymphs woke from their nap and went looking for Persephone, because she had literally vanished off the face of the earth. The nymphs were starting to panic by the time Demeter returned and found out that her precious daughter was missing. I'm not sure what Demeter did to punish those nymphs, but it could not have been good. Anyway, Demeter was freaked. She wandered around shouting for Persephone until her voice got hoarse. She asked everyone she met if they had seen anything. For 9 days, Demeter didn't change her clothes or take a bath. She didn't eat or sleep. She did nothing but look for Persephone. She must have started searching in the wrong direction, because on the 10th day, she finally circled back around and combed the area next to Hecate's cave. Hecate heard Demeter calling for Persephone. Immediately, the magic goddess put 2 and 2 together. Every night, Hecate had been trying to figure out what the abduction was all about, but her spells weren't telling her anything. Some strong magic was at work, covering up the kidnapping. Hecate had a feeling that a powerful god was behind it, or maybe more than one.